we've all heard about it, but what does it really mean? The website GameSkinny, no comment, defines it as basically a game's backstory. It's all the elements that complement a principal narrative. These details add depth and richness to the universe of a video game, expanding its history outside the main plot. Alright, enough of that snooze fest. This page was empty. It's basically what's going on behind the scenes. It's the explanation for why things are the way they are. When we think of games, we think of the story. That's what motivates the player's actions. Why am I crushing live animals? To save the princess. Why am I forcing live animals to fight each other? To become the champion. Why am I partaking in so much animal abuse? A game's story directly affects the player, and the player directly affects it. A game's lore, on the other hand, are things that have already happened, the stories before this one. So while most games have a story, not all games have lore. Which is stupid. A lot of games just give you a half-assed backstory that justifies the current story and call it a day. Which makes it so much more special when developers actually take the time to craft a universe that explains why this guy is such a bald freaking weirdo. Oh, it's because of the PTSD? Okay, never mind. Fallout New Vegas is the big daddy when it comes to lore. Not that big daddy, but you got your head in the right place, champ. Good job. You have a very specific goal in mind when you start the game. Find this asshole. But you almost immediately forget about it once you head out and get sucked into the story and politics of the wasteland. I mean, you could breeze through everything and just track down this H&M suit, but it's almost impossible to not stumble upon the aftermath of some crazy shit. I don't even know if I'm allowed to show this. Speaking of stumbling upon some crazy shit, the Japanese version of Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door has a crime scene for you to just walk all over. What could have even happened here, man? The older Paper Mario games do a really good job of crafting a living world, one where Mario and Luigi can truly be themselves. Almost every NPC you talk to tells you something about the world that brings it to life. In that same sphere, you've got the fucking mind-blowing Pokemon series with so many random tidbits of lore. There's so much potential for these games, so it really makes me glad to see that they're putting creativity and taking risks with the games this year. Yes, games this year. I would love to talk about all the world building that Game Freak has done in the past 12 months, but one, I didn't play Legends Arceus, and two, I don't want to spoil anything from Pokemon Violet and Silver. From Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, because those games are actually pretty dope. But don't you worry, champ, we've still got plenty of stuff to go over with creepy Pokédex entries, the phenomenon that is unknown, and how Ditto is a failed clone of Mew, but that kind of dips into theory area, and we're talking about lore, and that's
just a theory, a game theory. Thanks for watching.
Pokédex entries are a great way to give some insight into this world of extraordinary creatures. It explains that Rhydon actually became smarter by only using its hind legs. Yep, still waiting for that one, Doc, still waiting. Drifloon is rumored to grab the hands of children to drag them away to the afterlife. It also dislikes heavy children. If for some reason its body bursts, its soul spills out with a screaming sound, please stop adding lore to this one. Torchic, a fire burns inside, so it feels very warm to hug. The Pokemon Unknown is a total missed opportunity. Its Pokédex entry claims this Pokemon is shaped like ancient writing. It is a mystery as to which came first. Research into this topic is ongoing, but nothing is known. Funny, but can we do something about that? That sounds really cool. Alright, that's enough of Pokemon. I've been going over it for like 7 hours. Like the 7-hour war in Half-Life, which is the most important event between the two games and is hardly ever mentioned. Damn, are we ready to get into Valve? Back when Valve made games, not excuses, 0 days off, grind every fucking day, no bad vibes, no. They had an insane track record of making great games and just sprinkling just a tiny little bit of lore on top. Nothing too crazy. Team Fortress 2 is a game about shooting guns, leaving behind funny sprays, and diversity. But what's that? There's a reason behind the fighting. Red and blue are not just colors. They're companies started by two brothers who are fighting over the land that their father left to them. And their names are Redmond and Blutarch. I'm definitely gonna keep that in mind when I'm getting pwned in the game. You know, This little kid's chair might be a bad decision. It's really squeezing my cheeks right now. If you're able to pay attention over your friends screaming in Left 4 Dead 2, you come to realize the scale of this virus, the tales of the people who had to endure this living hell, and how your hashtag squad is only alive because you guys are immune. I mean, why else would you be walking around? Then comes Portal. I may or may not have written this whole thing just so I could talk about Portal. Guess we'll never know. I know Half-Life is the bigger series that gets all the recognition, but I think Portal deserves it more. Not only is the story genuinely amazing, the lore is fucking fascinating. I wish I could do whatever they did in that Jim Carrey movie where he doesn't just make silly faces and just forget everything about the game so I can go into it blind. No, it is not a problem. The first game is already a strange and unsettling experience, and then by the end of it, you start finding these weird little layers that are just totally out of place. You're given such limited information about the world, so finding these little dens just raises way more questions than they answer. Who made these? Why are they here? Can you really cook beans on a PC? It makes the already creepy atmosphere of the game just so much worse. You see a few more of these until the game ends, and of course, there's no explanation. It wasn't until a few days before the launch of Portal 2 that Valve released a digital comic that bridged the gap between the two games, and damn it, I don't want to read a comic. I don't know which way they go. Portal 2 has a few more Ratman layers, and it looks like he took some art lessons since the last game. Damn, okay, these are pretty good. These Ratman dens do not affect the gameplay, but they make you realize that you're not the only one in this facility. Stewie Griffin, it's fucking sweat rag, okay. Going off the game alone, we don't know when these very superstitious writings on the wall occurred, or what happened to the person behind them. These dens are one of the few times you can even see evidence of humans in the game. The only other human interaction happens in the second game when you take a little slip and help, I've fallen 1,000,000 feet and I can't get up, and find yourself in the old parts of Aperture Laboratories. Here you're guided by the recordings of Cave Johnson, one of the biggest influences on 2012 internet humor, as you learn about the company's history, and we're getting into the story. This is only about the lore. This whole section of the game might be one of my favorite sections of any game. It's just so freaking cool, dude. You learn about how Aperture went from being an innovative and successful company into a failing company on the brink of bankruptcy. The pre-recorded messages paint a picture of a much more lively Aperture science, one where candidates actually consented to these very weird tests. I know I've been talking about this one series way too long, but let me just leave you with this. Before you even go down into the depths of the laboratories, you see a science project in the facility created by not Jimmy Neutron, but you. Chew on that for a bit. Overall, the Portal series is just really great, and if you haven't played it, go buy it, man. I'll buy it for you. Nothing I even mentioned today goes into the gameplay. What was I even talking about again? So why is lore important? Well, do you want some dumbass going on about your game for 20 minutes over 10 years after it was released? Alright, I don't blame you. All these things I talked about don't have any effect on the gameplay, but they make these worlds feel so much more alive. It's like you're being given a sneak peek into another world, which is a really amazing thing.
Erecting a dispenser.
Alright, I did not need to see that much. When everything in the game is about a player and there's no development outside of their point of view, it makes the game feel really shallow and one-dimensional. If you didn't come through and fix everything, wow, this is awesome, thanks. The world inside the game would still be interesting. You could still imagine the characters' everyday lives. They feel like more than just ones and zeros that are there to make you feel better about yourself.
Nice throw.
Hey, thanks man, I needed that. I just really like when games have more to them than just what's on the surface, and I think a lot of people feel the same way. I mean, look at all those iceberg videos that blew up a little while back. People want lore. When you're gone, these desert freaks will still be roaming, these predators will still be abducting children, and this old robot will still be doing tests. In the end, lore is important, and love is blind. Thanks for watching.